And now it's time to reveal the final part of the drawing I've been showing you all this week. Let's take a look at the picture so far. Have you guessed who it is? Well, here's the whole drawing. Did you get it right? This smashing drawing of Badger from Wind in the Willows was sent to me by Alistair Simmons of East Ham, who's 13. Thank you, Alistair. We'll be running another picture quiz every day next week at this time. Right now, though, illusions.
Many classic TV shows appeared on CITV in the 1980s. Danger Mouse, Fraggle Rock, He-Man, Thomas the Tank Engine, The Wind in the Willows, and many more. But one show that still has a cult following to this day came from a popular series of children's books, and the TV series became an instant smash, both here and internationally, even being sold to China and Cuba. It featured a crime-fighting granny, a galaxy's worth of guest stars, and an absolutely killer theme tune, and it all came from Tyne Tees, the local heroes of ITV.
Hello everyone, I'm Stuart Kenny, and on the first episode of my nostalgic Thingummyjigger, we're going to take a good look at Supergran.
Supergran came out of the mind of Scottish author Forrest Wilson, with a character based on Pansy Potter from Mabino, Wilson's own girlfriend, and ultimately his mother-in-law, the latter of whom would encourage him to write the books. The first book came out in 1978 and became a bestseller, and more would follow. The first few were illustrated by Mr. Ben and King Rollo creator David McKee. The books followed the adventures of Granny Smith from the Scottish town of Chiselton, and this elderly, frail granny gets hit by a special ray which gives her superpowers! Super strength, super speed, super hearing, and X-ray vision. She decides to use her powers for good, team up with grandson Willie and a girl called Edison to put a stop to crime in Chiselton.
It was a very popular series of books at the time, and it was inevitable that it would be adapted one way or another, and it eventually caught the attention of TV producer Keith Richardson, who later went on to produce episodes of Heartbeat and Emmerdale, and he took it to his employers at Yorkshire Television. Sadly, Yorkshire turned it down. Not to be beaten, Richardson took it further north to Newcastle, specifically Tyne Tees Television, and they said yes.
Tyne Tees were no strangers to children's television, having produced series such as the ghost drama Nobody's House and the drama The Paper Lads, the latter of which influenced this advert.
Can I take a few bags of Tudor at your wages?
Nothing but the best for you, right, lad?
Aye, great flavours, Tudor. Hey, Jack. Look at these now, they're a canny bag of crisps.
Aye, man, the Tudor are kind of mountain.
Tudor, a crisp that's really worth its salt.
Pity that licked out of order.
But I digress. Now they had to find somebody to play Supergran, someone who could do physically demanding stuff, but still handle action and comedy with ease. The makers turned to Scottish stage and screen actress Gudrun Ewer. Ewer had appeared in old 1950s films like The £1 Million Note and The Sea Shall Not Have Them. Ewer had even appeared on stage in a 1951 production of Othello alongside Orson Welles. Not bad. At the time of making this, Gudrun Ewer is still with us at the age of 94. Bless her. The books were adapted by Jenny McDade, who'd written for the Grange Hill spin-off Tucker's Luck. One major change between the books and the TV series would be the main villain. In the books, the baddie was Inventor Black, who had invented the ray that gave Supergran her powers. When it came time to do the series, Inventor Black became an ally of Supergran, played by Bill Shine, a character actor of stage and screen whose career goes all the way back to the 1920s. A new villain appeared in the form of a Scunner Campbell, played by veteran Scottish actor Ian Cuthbertson, aka the dad of the Railway Children. Cuthbertson had suffered a stroke 2 years before, and this was his first TV work since, yet he throws himself into the role with relish, and you can clearly see he's enjoying it. The rest of the main cast was rounded out by local talent and newcomers. The first series consisted of 13 episodes and cost £2 million to make. Set in the fictional town of Chiselton in Scotland, it was mostly filmed in Tynemouth and Whitley Bay, but a lot of the episodes made use of local, well-recognised locations in Newcastle, such as the Central Arcade, the Lang Art Gallery and the Tyne Swing Bridge. The first series featured guest appearances from celebrities such as Spike Milligan, Roy Kinnear, Irene Handel, Bert Kwok and Lulu. Even sporting celebrities turned up such as George Best and the world's strongest man Jeff Capes.
But one guest star would make one contribution that was a big piece of a puzzle and would seal Supergran's fate forever. The big yin himself, Billy Connolly.
Connolly appeared in the series 1 episode, Supergran and the Course of Love, as Scottish millionaire Angus MacSpadden. So taken was Connolly by the series that he co-wrote and performed the theme song for the series, and it's such a catchy, enjoyable tune that's still fondly remembered to this day. It was even released as a single on Stiff Records, getting to number 32 in the charts in March 1985. Supergran first aired on CITV on January 20th, 1985, and it was an instant hit. Before long, Gudrun Ure was appearing in character as Supergran to promote the series. Here she is on number 73, bopping along to the Stranglers. And she even appeared in character, presenting the links between programmes on CITV.
Scarf. It won't take me too long to finish at this rate, and the best thing is I can knit while I watch the programmes. Here's a new series, Crystal Tips and Alistair. There, was that not grand? And you can see Crystal Tips and Alistair every day at about 4:15. I'm getting on famously with this scarf, but it's a good job I can knit without looking, or I'd miss the wind and the willows.
The show even had its own annual, and even a comic strip in the Junior TV Times magazine, Lookin'. A second series was inevitable, and it premiered with an hour-long Christmas special on Christmas Eve 1986, with the series following in earnest in January 87. Once again, more guests flocked to Newcastle to appear in the series, including Paul Shane, Ricky Fulton, Bernard Cribbins, Leslie Phillips, Melvin Hayes, Joan Sims, Anna Karen of On the Buses, Barbara Windsor, and musical nutcase John Otway, who appears as Hank G. Plucker and even gets to sing. More sportsmen turned up to be in the series, including darts legend Eric Bristow and snooker ace Willie Fawn. The series also featured the final television appearances of the second Doctor Who Patrick Troughton and carry-on legend Charles Hawtrey.
There was even the disgraced Grand Rockstar in Series 2, but we won't mention that.
The series was sold internationally to Canada, Australia and even communist countries like China and Cuba. It even won an International Emmy in 1985, it was released on video, and there was a computer game as well. Admittedly, the computer game wasn't very good. Oh, incidentally, Kim Justice did a brilliant video about the computer game. I'll put the link in the description. Please go and see it, it's well worth a watch. So what happened? It was a massive success. Surely a third series would have been inevitable. Sadly, Tyne scaled back on productions as lavish as Supergran in favour of smaller shows, namely cheap game shows like Crosswits and Chain Letters. Although they did keep a hat in the ring with children's shows for a while, including doing Saturday morning shows like Get Fresh, Ghost Train and Gimme 5, the latter two hosted by Nobby the Sheep. They also did a co-production with Jim Henson, The Ghost of Fafner Hall. Stories had been written for the third series of Supergran, but they never happened. One last roll of the dice was a planned film version involving Supergran going to Spain. Again, it never happened, although Gudrun Ewer would play Supergran in pantomimes for years to come.
Leaving wanting more, I suppose, but Supergran remains a fun, enjoyable series with thrills, spills and good laughs. And I love it, I really like it. I mean, it's a sort of wholesome entertainment you just don't get from television anymore. And it's got like a cartoonish shows, Crackpot, Wallace and Gromit feel to it, especially with the Inventor Black's inventions and everything that help out and everything. But yeah, it's something old-fashioned about it. I mean, it's got like, it harks back to those sort of comics you get in like the Beano and the Dandy back in the 60s and 70s, where, oh, you rotter, and all that kind of thing, where that kind of attitude that you just don't get anymore. Because it's got the sort of that sort of wholesome entertainment that you just don't get anymore. Because if it was made now, it had to be a bit more edgy and a bit more spiky. Whereas then it was just a bit of a have-a-go entertainment. Gudrun Ewer, who played Supergran, she did most of her own stunts. I mean, they only had one stunt person for the first series, and she threw herself into it. And I mean, if you can tell it's her, and if you can see it's her, and it's cleverly done. But I mean, there are some bits where you think, that's part of the charm as well. And also for someone like me, who's a bit of a regular visitor to Newcastle, it's a bit fun because you're like, oh my god, they're there. Because it's weird seeing somewhere you've stepped on the screen and everything, but it's a good timepiece as well, and it's also a good thing of Newcastle as well, because it's a really good city and also very photogenic as well. And there are bits, especially in the second series, where they started to ride on the coattails of certain trends and everything. Like there was one episode which was a spoof of Hill Street Blues for some reason, especially on the title sequence. And it was a popular series, but how many kids would have probably watched Hill Street Blues at the time? And I mean, the guest stars I had on were really good as well, as like Morecambe and Wise, where they or the Muppet Show, where they had guest stars on wanting to make a complete fool of themselves, or and you get that here, but they're all good sports and there's no ego involved, and they all just want to have a go at it, and it's that's adding to the sort of cartoonishness, sort of surrealism of it. And because Forrest Wilson, who created the books, he worked for the Sunday Post, and that was the same people who did the Bruins and Old Woolly, if you can remember them. And you can almost imagine Supergran living in the same universe as them, or maybe one foot in that and one foot in the being on the Dandy sort of thing, sort of between the two. And yeah, like I say, it's a shame that they never did a third series, because you can imagine more guest stars coming in, and you could think of people that they could have had, but they never did. Like you can imagine Rick Mayall and Ed Edmondson there, or maybe even one of the Monty Python lot, because they would have relished in that sort of atmosphere. But yeah, it's I mean, I have some good, because it was actually, but like I say, it was made for £2 million, and it was quite expensive for the time, especially for something like Tyne. Because you imagine that sort of money, Thames or Yorkshire or something like that, spending that. But Tyne, they did very low budget things. I mean, children's shows and music shows like The Tube and all that were mostly their forte, but they made a big splash here. I mean, like I say, it won an international Emmy, and it got sold to China and everything, so they did something right. So I mean, it's the sort of thing you probably couldn't get away with now, but there might be somebody who might need somebody as out there as the people who made this to make it work, if it made it work today. But just leave it as it is, leave them wanting more. And that's another thing as well. Because I mean, Forrest Wilson, he was a bit rude, but they were readapting his script. But he ended up adapting screenwriter Jenny McDay's books back. Jenny McDay's script, sorry, back into the books and back into books. So, well, that kind of thing as well. So, yeah, it's a really classic series, and I do recommend, if you haven't seen it, please do, because it's good, wholesome family entertainment. It's one that kids and adults can enjoy in equal measure, and don't take it too seriously. Don't overthink it. It's something you get away with in the 80s, and they just happen to be in the right place and right time. So, Tyne Tees, thank you. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please subscribe to my Twitter, my Facebook, and I've even got a Patreon as well. So if you want to see me do any, I take requests. So if you want to see me do any films, TV shows, or anything, or even dance for food or anything, I'll definitely do it. And thank you to everybody on Facebook and Twitter who supported me as well, and who said I could do this, because I've been wanting to do this for many years, and I've never really had the courage, but circumstances have changed, so I've really thrown myself right into the trough now, and I've got the bug for it now, and I've also got ideas for my next video. I'm actually looking at, I've got a whole wall of DVDs right in front of me, and I'm looking at the one I've got for my next subject there. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's going to be a good one. So stay tuned, everybody, and thank you for watching.